is Crane Durham's Nothing But Truth.
Welcome back. Crane Durham's Nothing But Truth, AFR Talk. Great to be with you. Y'all like that Rand Paul clip I posted yesterday, as well as some of the interviews I posted from last week. You can go to the American Family Radio Crane Durham's Nothing But Truth page, Facebook page. You can also go to nothingbutTruth.com. I encourage you to like the page. If you're listening to the show, you're digging the show, you still use terms like dig. Yes, I do. I'm bringing it back. And gay means happy, too. Here's the deal. You can go to the Facebook page. All right? Yeah. Do it! Like the page. Get involved. I think you'll dig it. I know you'll dig it. I think it'll be a good place where there's decent banter and you get these clips, and it'll be pretty neat. That all said, I want to go back to the issue of lying and the president's lie. But first, I want to go to the issue of compassion. This is not going away. Remember, you've seen their arsenal. Those of you who are conservative and look at the world and say, okay, I'm going to address this through reason. I'm going to address it from my foundation first and foremost as a Christian. You've seen all the weapons that are, in essence, going to be used. Their arguments, if you will. And they can't really do much to change the record because it's failure. So they're going to go to emotion, and they're going to go on the offense. Because why is President Obama still reacting the way he's reacting to this? Is because the mainstream media has carried the water for him. There's a point here. Crane Durham's Nothing But Truth, probably on AFR Talk. There's a point. Why on earth wouldn't the president come clean on this lie? Why would he try to change it Monday night to say something he did not say? Why would he do that? Because if you have any sense of the fact that you've made the comment 24 times upwards of, you'd realize that they can just keep playing it back. Because he has a mainstream media that's been carrying the water for him, so he hasn't been held to account. A lot of you, like me, sit back and go, where's the outrage? Where was the outrage on Fast and Furious? Where was the outrage on the IRS scandal? Where was the outrage on Benghazi? There's more, by the way. We can go on, Fast and Furious, which I mentioned, but the DOJ scandal and the investigation of journalists. We can get to all that. This is something that's impacting millions of Americans. 93 to 127 million Americans will have their health insurance changed. They'll lose their health insurance as they know it today. This is only the first step of this, so it's not going away. Yet the president still believes that he can get by simply changing the verbiage and expecting us to be a bunch of breathers. Shiny object. Lights. Okay. He's overplayed his hand. And supporters have overplayed their hand. The left has overplayed their hand. The thing that they fear the most has finally got them, which is accountability. Now, it's not sinister, but I do have to tell you, it's hard not to draw some conclusions from the president's behavior of the past 5 years and what he says and what he does and not being held to account. And then when he is held to account, he still thinks he can lie. So they're going to go on the offense. They're going to use the compassion argument once again. Here is Chris Matthews articulating one strategy that we will get from those supporting Obamacare and defending against the lie. Roll it.
No, I think he needs to be simply candid about the fact that the issue still is this one. Does this country take moral responsibility for the 40 million people waiting in emergency rooms or not? Focus back on the central question. One party has a health care plan. The other party does not have one. And the one that does not have a health care plan is least able to be critical. It doesn't have a dog in this race. It hasn't tried to deal with the health care problem. It doesn't have the moral credibility to mock the one party and the one president who has succeeded. He has to return it to the issue of morality and the fact we owe our brothers and sisters health care. We got to make sure they take responsibility for it. It is, in fact, a political question, not an efficiency question. He can't get involved in letting this be judged on whether it's successfully rolled out or not. He has to make it back to the question, should we try to bring health care people who don't have it or not, and put his enemies on the defensive?
And how best to do that than accuse him of being heartless? See, that's what's at play. Because if you go to the facts, 1.8, I'll go up to 2.4% of those costs that they use to say we're all paying for it, we're all being taxed in uncompensated care. That's what it is in those emergency rooms. You go to that, you say, why would you change it for 80% of the people that were satisfied with this? Why would you change the entire system and put it under the umbrella of a system that would inevitably lead to single payer? Oh, because that's our goal. See, go on the offense. How do you go on the offense when you failed to enact it? You've been selective about enforcing it, and evidence comes out every day that you knew about what you were doing in your deception. Question. That is a question. 1-888-589-8840. 1-888-589-8840. What is the question? The question is this. Lying. How do you deal with someone who lies to you? How have you dealt with that? What is the biggest lie you've been told? What is the biggest lie you've told? What have you learned from those experiences dealing with people who haven't been truthful with you? Give me a call, 1-888-589-8840. 1-888-589-8840. Biggest lie you've told? Biggest lie that's been told to you? How you've dealt with people that have been dishonest with you? Tell me about it. What does the Word say? You can go to that too. 1-888-589-8840. 1-888-589-8840. Here is Jay Carney attempting to explain himself from a question of Ed Henry, going specifically to the fact that the grandfather clause that was mentioned was not part of the original deal in the sense that it was presented dishonestly. Can you admit that? Roll it.
You know, when it comes to that provision within the law that grandfathered in plans that existed before the Affordable Care Act was passed, that is obviously what the President was referring to. He was also referring more broadly to the general principle and promise of the Affordable Care Act, which is that if you're one of the 80% of Americans who is insured or covered through an employer plan or through Medicare or Medicaid, you don't, or the Veterans Administration, there is no change for you except for an increase in benefits that everyone receives as a result of the Affordable Care Act. If you're...
Yeah, he said, President Obama said you don't have to do anything. And Carney's saying it was speaking to general principles. Do you follow me? Let's go to the phones. How do you deal with someone who lies to you? What is the biggest lie you've been told? What is the biggest lie you've told? You can answer one or all three. We go to Eric in the great state of North Carolina. Eric, welcome.
Hey, Crane, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing very well. I am a community college professor, and I deal a lot with dishonesty with students sometimes, and catching them cheating and things like that. And my first year teaching in the community college system, I caught a young lady cheating on the exam for a pharmacology test in the program that I teach. And to catch those things and then realize that you're dealing with somebody's future. But at the same time, in the profession that I'm teaching, you have to eliminate people out of those types of professions. If they'll be dishonest about this, they would take and jeopardize patients' lives.
Yes. How did you go about handling it? And it sounds like you were bringing accountability by confronting it. But go ahead.
Oh yeah. That was the thing. We had to bring the young lady in and set her down and confront her and say, well, here are these three calculations. Here's the lady that you sit beside in class, and you have the same wrong answer that this lady has, exact same wrong answer, and no work. How did you come up with that? And you've done no math, and you can't show me the work. And so I created 3 problems again on the same spot and asked her to work out the problems again, and she couldn't do any of the math problems. And I was sitting there, and I was like, you're a faithful believer, and you're trying to believe in people, but at the same time, when somebody is unrepentant and just continuous.
Was she unrepentant? Did she finally say, "Look, I lied"?
Yeah.
Did she finally say that?
Completely unrepentant.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no integrity there, and you have to weigh integrity in those issues. When you catch somebody in a lie, and you're in that type of position where you have to deal with that, and make.
Do you think? By the way, and I don't mean to interject, because I want to get to other calls too as well. But I want to ask you this: in your profession, but let's say in general in teaching, okay, when we're not dealing with pharmaceuticals. Do you think a lot of professors look the other way because they don't want to deal with the confrontation?
I think it's about 70-30. I think about 70% of us actually care, and that we do care and will confront the situation. I think there are about 30% of those people, at least the ones that are at the 3 schools that I've taught at, that just kind of turn their heads and look the other way and say, it's not worth the trouble.
Gotcha. Well, appreciate your point of view. Appreciate you opening up. Thanks so much. Great to be with you, and honored you're in the audience, sir. Take care, my friend. All right, we go to Gabby in North Carolina as well. Gabby, welcome. Crane Durham's Nothing But Truth. 1-888-589-8840. 1-888-589-8840. Lying is the topic. How you've dealt with it. If you've told a lie, your biggest lie, what was it, and what did you learn from it? Go ahead, Gabby.
Hello.
Yes.
Debbie?
Yes, Gabby.
Hi, I'm sorry. I have just been thinking for a couple of days that, if my memory serves me correctly, it's been a while, but we had a president who was impeached for lying. I don't remember that he was impeached for the activity.
No, it was for lying under oath, and people go to jail for that normally, and he wasn't removed. He was impeached but not removed, and it was Bill Clinton. Yes, ma'am.
Well, that's what I was wondering about. I appreciate you confirming that for me, because it has been a while. But that's really the only thing I've been thinking about is the lying. I think it needs to be confronted.
I got you.
Especially if you know it. But anyway, I did want to just kind of run that by you, because that's been going through my mind for the last couple of days.
Well, it's interesting, Gabby, because what happens, and appreciate the phone call. We'll get to you, Monica, in just 1 second. 1-888-589-8840. 1-888-589-8840. They in that investigation, they said it was all about SEX. They tried to, in essence, obfuscate it as much as they possibly could. They talked about the money being spent, but they didn't mention the money was being spent because they were not doing things that were misleading. And it was, as much as adultery and a whole host of things are disgusting and despicable, and in that vein, and we're all sinners, and I get all that, but the point is, if there's behavior and you see it pointed out, it was about lying under oath, and he was held to account for that, but he was not removed. Impeached, not removed. Appreciate it, Monica. Accountability, yes. Monica, welcome, Texas. Great to be with you.
Yes, how are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. Tell me, Monica, your thoughts on lying, the biggest lie you've been told or that you've told?
Well, I'm just basically, to the point to where I think that all the way from, in the churches, and it starts in the churches, but there hasn't been any accountability, because it leads out from the churches into our world, and, everybody just does what they want, and nobody says anything because they're afraid they're going to hurt somebody's feelings, or, somebody's going to get mad at them. But, I think that God is very clear that, the big word judging is always used when you try to hold somebody accountable, and we're really not judging, we're just trying to help, and people don't take it that way. And I just think that we just need to get back to people being held accountable for their mistakes. My children were always held accountable for what they did wrong, And I've got some pretty decent kids right now, and I'm very grateful. It's all God's, with His help.
Wonderful. But Monica, you identified something there, and by the way, great job with your kids. Wonderful and great advice. But what you've identified is the fact that when you speak up for what is right, everybody says, well, you're a hypocrite because maybe you've done that before. I think of the idea of marijuana and people talking about their experience with marijuana. Look how I'm saying it. But the point is that they're thinking about that and say, what should I tell my kids? Well, whether you've done it or not, you know it's harmful. It's going to have it will have a negative effect. It's illegal, a whole host of things. You, by saying that, you're not being a hypocrite. You're not being, it's amazing how we go into this self-reflection of we can't call something wrong. And what it gets to inevitably is something, Monica, I think you're identifying in general and speaking to the church and a whole host of things. But Aaron Free talked about this. When we start calling good or evil good and good evil, then we're at the end. So I appreciate your point of view. You can talk about things that are harmful. You can talk about sin. You can talk about it does not mean you are up there with self-righteousness. It means that you are identifying and you're being loving. Proverbs speaks to the fact that God loves the ones that He punishes. I'm paraphrasing, of course, but really to the point. This is got a lot of people hamstrung, and the only thing that really, when you're dealing with lying, whether you've done it or not, I've done it before. I've been held to account. I've confronted it before on the other end. I'm not proud of doing it, but my point is, you'll learn a lot, but you only learn through accountability, and that's where it really begins. Your character. Brain Durham's Nothing But Truth, AFR Talk.